Hey guys, welcome back to Boring History Secrets, the channel where curiosity meets chronic drowsiness. If you've ever wondered how people celebrate Halloween in Asia, you might want to ask yourself why you've wondered that. But since you're already here, and you're probably horizontal, let's just lean into it. Tonight, we'll talk about how pumpkins, ghosts, and plastic skeletons somehow crossed oceans, languages, and logic to land in places that already had perfectly good ghost festivals. Places where spirits have been haunting for millennia, quietly, efficiently, and with better manners. Before we begin, a gentle reminder. If you enjoy falling asleep to historical nonsense, go ahead and tap the like button. Gently, the way a polite ghost might knock before entering. And subscribe, so you can join us every week as we put the zzz in civilization. Now let's begin with something colder than your ex's heart. The story of how Halloween, the festival of fright, went global. Picture it. Ancient Europe centuries ago. People lit bonfires to ward off spirits, wore animal skins, and mumbled Celtic incantations that, in modern times, would probably just summon a disappointing Wi-Fi signal. Fast forward a few hundred years, and Halloween became an industrialized sugar operation run by candy companies and suburban parents with Pinterest boards. But somewhere between candy corn and capitalism, the idea escaped, floating eastward like a ghost with a passport. It drifted across oceans, through trade routes and television screens, until it landed in a part of the world where spirits were already on the guest list. Asia didn't exactly need Halloween. Most Asian countries have been talking to the dead for centuries, through incense, offerings, or awkward family dinners. Yet when Halloween arrived, it was like that overly friendly exchange student who insists on organizing a costume party. And Asia, being the gracious host it is, smiled politely and said, "Sure, why not?" Tonight, we'll wander through Tokyo's neon streets, float over the rice fields of Vietnam, and hum quietly through karaoke bars in Seoul, meeting ghosts, gods, and guys in polyester vampire suits. So, settle in. If you're here for jump scares, you've come to the wrong place. But if you want soft, spooky comfort with a touch of historical absurdity, stay right where you are. Because our first stop is Tokyo, where ghosts bow before they haunt you. Imagine walking through Shibuya on Halloween night. The air hums with energy, and probably a hint of octopus balls from the street vendors. Neon signs flash over crowds dressed as vampires, ninjas, and something vaguely resembling a sexy Pikachu. But here's the thing. Nobody's screaming. Nobody's scaring anyone. They're just politely existing in costume. That's Halloween in Japan. It's less boo and more, "Excuse me, may I haunt this area, you?" See, Japan's relationship with ghosts goes way back. Long before imported pumpkins and trick-or-treating, Japan already had Obon, a Buddhist festival where families welcome the spirits of their ancestors back home. They light lanterns, visit graves, and maybe dance a little. It's like a family reunion, except everyone's technically deceased. So when Western Halloween crept into Japanese culture, it didn't replace Obon. It just added cosplay, convenience store candy, and a lot more selfies. Tokyo, of course, took things to the next level. In the 2010s, Shibuya became famous for its spontaneous street parties. Tens of thousands of people would flood the crossing dressed as everything from zombies to cup noodles. And yet, in classic Japanese fashion, It was astonishingly organized. Ghosts waited for the light to turn green before crossing. Witches stood in line for photos. Even chainsaw-wielding monsters took turns using the public trash bins. It's haunting, but tidy. Some say the politeness of Japanese ghosts comes from omotenashi, the spirit of hospitality. Even the supernatural in Japan feels obligated to say sorry if they startle you too much. Imagine a transparent samurai bowing deeply and saying, "My deepest apologies for appearing headless." Modern Japanese Halloween has also become a showcase for creativity. There's even a Jimmy Halloween, which translates roughly to boring Halloween. It celebrates people who dress up as painfully mundane characters, like man who forgot his USB drive, or office lady whose heel broke. It's the kind of quiet genius that makes you love Japan even more. Of course, not everyone is thrilled. Some locals think the festival has become too rowdy, too Western, too pumpkin-centric. After one too many drunken mummies fell asleep on the metro, Tokyo's authorities politely asked people to tone it down. And they did, mostly. Because in Japan, even chaos has curfew. Still, beneath the neon and the nonsense, Halloween in Japan says something beautiful. Even in a culture that reveres order and respect, people crave a little controlled chaos. A few hours to be spooky, silly, and slightly out of character. It's rebellion, with good manners. So next time you see a group of anime vampires bowing before taking a selfie, remember, they're not just celebrating Halloween. They're celebrating the art of being frighteningly polite. If Halloween in the West is about jump scares and cavities, Japan's Obon Festival is about elegance, incense, and impeccable timing. Think less trick or treat and more welcome back, great grandpa. Every summer, Japanese families light small fires, mukaibi, welcoming flames, to guide ancestral spirits home. Later, they send them off with floating lanterns on rivers and seas, a glowing farewell that says, "Thanks for visiting. Please don't haunt the refrigerator." It's graceful. It's peaceful. It's the exact opposite of a frat party with fake blood. When Halloween arrived in Japan, it didn't replace Obon. It evolved beside it, like a mischievous little cousin. The kind of cousin who shows up to a memorial service wearing vampire fangs, but still bows respectfully. That balance between play and propriety is pure omotenashi, the Japanese art of hospitality. Even the ghosts practice it. In Japanese folklore, spirits known as yurai wander the earth because of unfinished business, heartbreak, betrayal, or maybe they just lost Wi-Fi connection. But even in death, they follow social rules. A yurai will haunt you quietly, often in corridors, never tracking mud inside. Modern Halloween inherited that same politeness. Costume shops sell everything from bloody nurses to sumo ghosts, but there's always an undertone of respect. People avoid overly gory displays, public disruptions, or anything that might distress the elderly. The horror is always aesthetically pleasing. It's also incredibly photogenic. Every convenience store from Hokkaido to Okinawa puts out limited edition pumpkin snacks. You'll find pumpkin-flavored Kit Kats, pumpkin mochi, and of course, pumpkin lattes so cute you'll feel bad drinking them. Even Starbucks Japan looks like it's been haunted by an interior designer. And yet, at the heart of it all, Halloween in Japan still carries traces of Obon, the quiet connection between the living and the dead. It's not just a costume party. It's a moment, however commercialized, to acknowledge that the line between worlds can be thin, especially when your costume includes a sheer veil and LED lights. So when the parades end and the street sweepers come through Shibuya at 3 a.m., the ghosts go home politely, the way they came. They bow once more to the neon city and vanish. Now we float west, across the East China Sea, into the land of dragons, dumplings, and data plans, China. Here, ghosts are not cute. They're hungry. Before Halloween was even a twinkle in an American candy company's eye, China already had the Ghost Festival, or Zhongyuanjie, celebrated during the 7th lunar month. It's basically Halloween with better food and worse lighting. During this time, it's believed the gates of the underworld open and spirits are free to roam the mortal realm, kind of like a supernatural version of spring break. Families burn incense, paper money, and occasionally paper iPhones, so their ancestors can enjoy the good life in the afterworld. Yes, somewhere out there, a ghost is currently making a paper FaceTime call on a paper iPhone 13. And while Westerners might decorate porches with skeletons, Chinese households offer rice, pork, and fruit to their spirits. It's a thoughtful culinary haunting, one that smells like stir-fry and nostalgia. Then, Halloween arrived. It came not through ancient trade or missionaries, but through something far more powerful: capitalism and the internet. Chinese cities like Beijing and Shanghai began holding costume parties in malls and bars, mostly for expats and adventurous locals. And just like that, a holiday born in Celtic Europe began trending on WeChat. Still, there's a difference between ghosts who crave offerings and ghosts who crave Instagram likes. One curious adaptation came through the rise of the Halloween apple. In China, giving apples as gifts is popular during Halloween because the word for apple, pingo, sounds like the word for peace. So, on a night meant to honor chaos and the dead, people give each other apples of tranquility. It's a little like bringing kale to a pizza party. In some cities, kids now trick-or-treat in gated communities, while adults attend spooky raves that are more glow-stick than ghost story. And yet, alongside all the imported plastic bats and pumpkin buckets, the old customs remain. Families still burn offerings for their ancestors during Ghost Month. They still whisper prayers for the wandering souls. Only now, the prayers might have a discount code attached. Halloween in China, like most things in China, is an experiment in scale. It's big, it's bright, it's occasionally confusing. Imagine a haunted house built next to a hot pot restaurant. Both full, both noisy, both steaming. But maybe that's the beauty of it. The line between sacred and silly blurs, and somehow it works. The ancestors are fed, the youth are entertained, and the spirits, as always, get exactly what they came for. Even if it's just a sweet apple. Somewhere in Beijing, probably between a dumpling shop and a bubble tea cafe, a store clerk is arranging fake pumpkins made of bright orange plastic. They're hollow, shiny, and smell faintly of industrial glue. Why? Because nobody wants to waste a real pumpkin. You see, China loves efficiency, and carving an actual pumpkin, that heavy, slippery ordeal involving knives, seeds, and questionable hygiene, doesn't exactly fit the national vibe. Why wrestle with a gourd when you can 3D print one? Thus, the pumpkin crisis was born. When Western-style Halloween parties began trending in Beijing around the mid-2010s, supermarkets scrambled to meet demand. People wanted pumpkins for decoration, but the supply chain wasn't ready. Local farmers were confused. They'd been growing pumpkins for soup, not selfies. The result? Panic buying, price surges, and a few newspaper articles asking, "Why are urban youth obsessed with vegetables that glow?" Within a year, China solved it, as China does, by mass-producing plastic pumpkins that would last longer than most human relationships. And so, in Beijing's glossy malls, Halloween became less about scaring ghosts and more about aesthetic perfection. There were haunted cafes serving matcha potions, pumpkin spice bubble tea, and skeleton mannequins that looked like they did Pilates. Ghosts were out, influencers were in. Still, beneath the surface of all this cheerful consumerism, you can glimpse something deeper, a fascination with Western imagery, repackaged in uniquely Chinese efficiency. Halloween wasn't about superstition, it was about performance. Even haunted houses got an upgrade. In Beijing, you can visit Happy Valley Halloween, a theme park event so polished it feels like Disneyland with dumplings. There are fog machines, synchronized zombie dances, and costumed employees who will chase you politely, but never too far, because they have to clock out. The Chinese Halloween isn't spooky, it's stylish. Ghosts wear makeup tutorials. Pumpkins never rot. And the scariest thing you'll encounter is someone trying to sell you a QR code for exclusive haunted discounts. And yet, somehow, amidst the LED lights and acrylic cobwebs, it still captures the spirit of the season, a mix of life, death, laughter, and commerce. Because nothing says modern haunting like a neon pumpkin made in a factory by the millions. Now, let's glide softly over the Yellow Sea, where the ghosts hum pop songs and everyone's skin looks suspiciously flawless. Welcome to South Korea, land of K-pop, skincare, and some of the most photogenic ghosts you'll ever meet. In Seoul, Halloween didn't need to knock twice. The city embraced it like a new music trend, glamorous, coordinated, and with just enough drama to trend on Instagram. Imagine walking down Hongdae on October 31st. The streets are a living catwalk of witches, vampires, and people dressed as broken Wi-Fi signals, because even the jokes have aesthetic. There's music, flashing lights, and the faint scent of fried chicken in the air. And somewhere in the distance, a karaoke machine belts out Thriller in perfect Korean. Halloween here isn't just imported, it's remixed. Bars and clubs transform into ghostly playgrounds. DJs mix eerie sound effects with K-pop remixes. There's an annual zombie run where people literally sprint through the streets being chased by paid actors, who, according to rumor, still bow before tackling you. The country's long relationship with the spirit world adds another layer. Traditional Korean ghosts, known as Gwishin, have pale faces, long hair, and a tragic backstory, usually involving betrayal, heartbreak, or someone forgetting their shoes. But modern Korea gave them an update. Now they carry ring lights. It's not all glamour, though. Halloween in Korea also had its growing pains. In 2022, Seoul faced a tragic crowd incident that made national headlines, prompting reflection on how public events are managed. Since then, celebrations have become more regulated, still vibrant, but more mindful. It's a haunting reminder that behind the masks and music, real lives matter more than make-believe ghosts. Still, the spirit persists. In smaller gatherings, themed cafes, and cozy karaoke bars where friends sing until 3 a.m., dressed as skeletons, pirates, or confused wizards. There's something comforting about that image. A room full of friends, warm light glowing, voices echoing through the night. ghosts may drift outside, curious but respectful, humming softly along. Because in Seoul, even the afterlife can't resist a good melody. If Halloween in Korea is the cool new neighbor, then Chuseok is the beloved grandmother who still insists you eat too much rice cake. It's one of the country's biggest holidays, a harvest celebration where families gather, honor ancestors, and exchange gifts of spam that cost more than a smartphone case. So when Halloween arrived, it had to share the stage with Chuseok, which typically lands around the same time of year. The result? A seasonal identity crisis. Picture Seoul in late October. Half the population is dressed as traditional ancestors offering thanks for the harvest, and the other half is dressed as blood-splattered nurses. In one corner, a grandmother is lighting incense. In another, her grandson is carving a jack-o'-lantern while live-streaming it to TikTok. Cultural whiplash? Absolutely. But somehow Koreans manage to make it work. Because if there's one thing this country excels at, it's aesthetic balance. The polite ghosts of Chuseok probably don't mind either. They float down to visit their families, see everyone dressed as zombies, and think, well, at least they remembered me. In some homes, the contrast becomes comically cozy. The ancestral altar, normally covered with fruit, fish, and rice, might have a tiny plastic pumpkin tucked discreetly at the corner. The ancestors, being patient sorts, pretend not to notice. And then, of course, there are the students. Korean universities love Halloween. Costume competitions, haunted dorms, parties where someone inevitably shows up as a haunted ramen cup. But the next morning, they all travel home for Chuseok, exchanging candy for kimchi. One day they're partying with plastic skeletons. The next, they're bowing to their elders. It's the full cycle of life, and it happens in a single weekend. Maybe that's the real magic. Halloween and Chuseok don't cancel each other out. They complement one another. One celebrates the living, the other remembers the dead. Together, they remind us that being alive, even just to wear a bad vampire wig, is a gift worth honoring. Now glide gently south toward Thailand, where monks chant peacefully, incense curls through temple air, and just outside, someone in a Batman suit is ordering a mango smoothie. Welcome to Halloween, Thai edition, a celebration that nobody asked for, but everyone somehow enjoys. Thailand doesn't officially celebrate Halloween. There are no government holidays, no national parades, no mass ghost hunting events. But when a country is this full of smiles, it doesn't take much for people to join the fun. It started quietly in Bangkok, fueled by expats and students. Bars in Sukhumvit began throwing Halloween parties. Shopping malls put up paper bats. 7-Eleven stocked pumpkin-flavored snacks that looked slightly suspicious. Soon enough, the streets filled with costumed revelers. Witches, vampires, and tourists wearing monk robes made from polyester. And that's where things got interesting. Because in a Buddhist country, dressing up as a monk, even for a laugh, is a delicate subject. Monks are highly respected figures, and using the robe as a party outfit crosses into spiritual gray area. So naturally, Thailand found a compromise. Sexy monk costumes. Of course. They appeared briefly, caused some mild social outrage, and then disappeared, as all poor fashion choices do. But Thailand's real Halloween charm lies in its seamless blending of the sacred and the silly. Ghosts here aren't foreign. They're local celebrities. There's May Nak, the tragic ghost bride who loved her husband too much to stop haunting him, and Krasu, the floating head with dangling organs that apparently glows in the dark. You'd think that would make Halloween redundant, but instead, Thais embraced it like a guest star in a long-running ghost show. Temples sometimes host family-friendly ghost nights to teach moral lessons. Meanwhile, nightclubs in Bangkok throw costume raves with DJs dressed as monks playing techno remixes of meditation chants. It's equal parts unsettling and amazing. And through it all, the monks remain unbothered. Because when you've reached enlightenment, you don't worry about fake cobwebs or someone wearing bat wings while ordering pad thai. Maybe that's Thailand's true wisdom. Everything can be spiritual if you're calm enough about it. Even Halloween. In Thailand, you don't need to wait for October to meet a ghost. They already live next door. Almost every Thai home, hotel, and even gas station has a little spirit house outside, a miniature shrine perched on a pedestal, painted gold or red, and decorated with offerings. Fruit, flowers, incense, sometimes even a tiny can of Fanta. Yes, Fanta. Orange flavor, to be precise. Because apparently, the afterlife has a sweet tooth. These spirit houses aren't Halloween props. They're a daily act of respect. They give the local spirits a comfy place to hang out so they don't wander into your living room. It's kind of like Airbnb for the supernatural, with free snacks. Now, enter the age of social media. Tourists, backpackers, and influencers wander through Bangkok, snapping photos of everything. Temples, tuk-tuks, and yes, spirit houses. The result? A quiet collision between reverence and filters. It's not unusual these days to see someone posing for a spooky aesthetic shot next to a shrine meant for actual ghosts. The spirits, one imagines, are confused but flattered. They've probably started their own influencer network by now. Ha's afterlife. Aesthetic. During late October, the city's bars, malls, and even temples lean gently into the Halloween mood. Street markets sell plastic skeletons next to incense burners. Teenagers dress as vampires to visit Buddhist festivals. And while Westerners might expect screams and haunted houses, Thais prefer their ghosts to be charming, even glamorous. There's a famous TV show called The Promise that blends horror and heartache, showing that in Thailand, the line between scary and sentimental is wafer thin. Ghosts here aren't villains. They're emotional roommates. So when Halloween rolls around, it's not about summoning spirits. It's about acknowledging the ones already invited. If you walk through a Bangkok alley late at night, you might catch a faint scent of jasmine and incense, hear the soft hum of a distant temple bell, and see a small flame flickering beside a spirit house. Don't be afraid. Just smile and maybe say hello. And if the flame flickers back, well, you've just been liked by a ghost. Now we travel east, through humid air and golden dawns, into Vietnam, where ghosts don't wear costumes. They wear memories. Halloween here isn't native, but it doesn't need to be. Vietnam already has its own hauntingly beautiful traditions. Vu Lan and Ghost Month, both dedicated to honoring lost souls. They're not about fear. They're about love that refuses to fade. During Ghost Month, families prepare food offerings for wandering spirits. Rice, noodles, fruit, tea. The air fills with smoke and the soft crackle of burning paper. Paper money, paper clothes, even paper scooters. All sent as gifts to ancestors in the afterlife. Imagine a spiritual Amazon delivery service with no return policy. In Vietnamese folklore, hungry ghosts drift between worlds, searching for kindness. They're not out to scare, they're just lonely. And the living answer with generosity. Now, mix in a dash of globalization, and what do you get? Halloween in Ho Chi Minh City, complete with neon cobwebs, ghost parades, and a pumpkin carved by someone who definitely Googled how to carve pumpkin Vietnam climate humidity problem. Children in international schools go trick-or-treating in gated neighborhoods, their bags filled with imported chocolates and mild confusion. Teenagers gather at cafes wearing skeleton shirts, taking moody selfies with captions like "spooky but still studying." Meanwhile, in rural areas, candles flicker along riverbanks, guiding the souls of ancestors back to the water's edge. It's serene, ancient, and oddly comforting, a reminder that the dead are never too far away. If Halloween is a performance, Vietnam's ghost festivals are poetry. No jump scares, no plastic props, just quiet reverence. A grandmother murmuring a prayer, a child placing sticky rice on a plate, the faint hiss of incense smoke curling toward the night sky. It's the same story everywhere, the living reaching out to the dead. But here, the gesture is softer, slower, a lullaby for wandering souls. So if you ever find yourself along the Mekong River at dusk, watching paper lanterns float away into the mist, remember, that's Vietnam's version of Halloween. No candy, no costumes. Just peace, patience, and a little bit of afterlife hospitality. There are few sounds more familiar in Vietnam than the gentle putter of a motorbike. It's the national soundtrack. An endless hum of scooters weaving through narrow streets, carrying families, groceries, and occasionally, ghosts. Halloween may be imported, but Vietnam found a way to localize it. Forget haunted houses. Here, the hauntings are mobile. In the cities of Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, you'll find entire Halloween parades on scooters. Hundreds of riders, dressed as witches, skeletons, or superheroes, cruising in calm unison through the night. It's equal parts eerie and adorable. One popular legend tells of the haunted helmet, a motorbike helmet that supposedly whispers at red lights. Some say it belonged to a rider who never reached home. Others claim it's just a Bluetooth glitch. Either way, it's a national treasure of ghost folklore and poor connectivity. Locals love blending the old and the new this way, ancient beliefs layered over modern habits. So while you'll see people burning incense for their ancestors, you'll also see someone in a full zombie outfit texting during it. It's not disrespect, it's coexistence. Vietnamese culture has a unique talent for letting old spirits share space with the living. And Halloween, once purely Western, found an easy home here. Among the street food stalls, the coffee shops, the chaotic joy of it all. Cafes put up orange lights and serve spooky drinks with dry ice fog. Kids in witch hats ride on the back of their parents' motorbikes. And the ghosts, if you believe in them, drift quietly alongside the traffic, enjoying the breeze. If you're ever stuck in traffic on a warm October night, surrounded by buzzing scooters and glowing jack-o'-lantern helmets, remember this. You're not stuck. You're part of a ghost parade that never ends. Now we glide across the sea to Indonesia, a place of thousands of islands, thousands of spirits, and at least one that probably lives in your Wi-Fi router. Here, Halloween is less of an import and more of a remix. The locals already have enough supernatural content to fill a dozen horror movies. There's the Pocong, a ghost wrapped tightly in a burial shroud who hops around like a haunted burrito. There's the kuntilanak, a long-haired female spirit who laughs softly in the dark. And of course, the jinn, mysterious beings made of smokeless fire, equal parts divine and mischievous. With that kind of lineup, Halloween didn't have much new to offer, except maybe glow sticks. Urban Indonesia, though, took the holiday and ran with it. Or rather, danced with it. Clubs in Jakarta and Bali host lavish Halloween parties, complete with fog machines, neon skeletons, and DJs in ghost makeup spinning techno versions of traditional gamelan music. Somewhere in the crowd, someone's probably dressed as a pokong, trying not to spill their drink while hopping to the beat. But not all celebrations are loud. In small towns, stories are told by candlelight. Tales of spirits that linger in forests, rivers, and even old colonial buildings. People share these stories quietly, as if the ghosts might be listening, and they probably are, nodding approvingly. Indonesia's relationship with the supernatural is casual. The dead and the living coexist like neighbors who occasionally borrow sugar. So Halloween doesn't feel out of place. It feels like another polite visit from a very enthusiastic friend. On Bali, where Hindu traditions blend with island mysticism, Halloween becomes almost spiritual. Temples glow at night, and locals tell stories of leek, sorcerers who transform into flying heads with entrails trailing behind them like ribbons. It sounds terrifying, but in the tropical moonlight, even the monstrous becomes mesmerizing. As the night deepens, music thumps through palm trees, candles flicker on offerings, and somewhere, maybe near the beach, a soft wind stirs. You can almost imagine the jinns themselves joining in, dancing quietly in the shadows. After all, everyone deserves a night off, even the spirits. If you've ever thought the afterlife might be peaceful, you've clearly never spent Halloween in Bali. By day, the island is a postcard, rice terraces shimmering in the sun, palm trees swaying, tourists meditating on beaches while pretending not to check their notifications. By night, particularly this night, it becomes a paradise possessed. Halloween in Bali is not a public holiday, but it doesn't have to be. The island's nightlife scene adopted it with the enthusiasm of a ghost who just found out about open bars. Clubs in Seminyak and Canggu host lavish Halloween parties with names like Boo in Bali or the Undead Poolside Bash. Imagine glow-in-the-dark cocktails, smoke machines, and expats in hastily assembled costumes made mostly of glitter and confusion. Somewhere, a guy dressed as a zombie surfer tries to order a drink without removing his fake teeth. But beneath the laughter and EDM bass, something fascinating happens. A cultural crossfade between Western party culture and Balinese spirituality. Because Bali, even when it's drunk on pumpkin margaritas, can't help but stay connected to its deeper roots. The Balinese believe in maintaining balance between good and evil, between the bright gods and the darker spirits. Their ceremonies often feature masks, offerings, and dances meant to appease both. So even though Halloween here may look like a chaotic costume parade, it's also, in its own accidental way, a continuation of that tradition, acknowledging the shadows with a smile. If you stay out late enough, past the fireworks and music, you might catch a quieter side of the island. A small temple glowing with oil lamps, locals leaving offerings, flowers, rice, incense for the ancestors. The faint crash of waves echoing like slow applause from the gods. It's a strange harmony, cocktails and chanting, laughter and prayer. But that's Bali for you, a place where heaven and hangovers coexist beautifully. Now we float gently northwest over the Bay of Bengal to a country that celebrates everything, sometimes all at once. Welcome to India, where Halloween had to fight for space on a calendar already stuffed with festivals, fireworks, and the occasional elephant parade. Every few weeks, something is being celebrated. Diwali, Holi, Dussehra, Navratri. Each one louder, brighter, and more sugar-fueled than the last. So when Halloween tried to make an entrance, it was like a pale vampire walking into a Bollywood movie. The locals took one look and said, "Sure, but can you dance?" To be fair, India didn't need Halloween. It already had centuries of ghost stories. There's the Chudale, a female spirit with backward feet and great hair. The Preta, hungry ghosts cursed by greed. And the Vitala, a witty vampire-like being who hangs upside down in cemeteries telling riddles. Basically, the original stand-up comedians. But thanks to globalization, Western-style Halloween started creeping in, especially in cities like Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore. Schools began hosting costume days. Shopping malls put up cardboard pumpkins, and cafes served spooky specials like pumpkin curry or witch's brew chai that tasted suspiciously like regular chai. Then came the parties. Indian youth, always ready for a theme, embraced Halloween with full cinematic flair. Dracula danced to Punjabi beats, zombies posed for Instagram reels, and someone inevitably showed up as Ghost of Wi-Fi Past. Meanwhile, rural India looked on with mild amusement. Because when you already have Diwali, the Festival of Lights, celebrates the victory of good over evil, adding Halloween feels like turning on a flashlight in broad daylight. Still, there's something poetic about it. In Diwali, people light lamps to banish darkness. In Halloween, people play with the darkness to feel alive. Two sides of the same cosmic coin, both seeking connection, laughter, and a little relief from the endless seriousness of being human. So yes, sometimes you might see a jack-o'-lantern flickering next to a Diwali diya, and somewhere perhaps Lord Rama and Dracula are comparing capes. Because in India, there's always room for one more festival, even if it involves fangs. If there's one thing India loves, it's a good contradiction. Spicy yet sweet, ancient yet modern, haunted yet hilarious. And nowhere does this blend show more clearly than in the curious case of Indian Halloween. See, India's long history with ghosts goes back thousands of years, long before plastic skeletons and pumpkin emojis. The ancient Upanishads mention spirits and reincarnation, and regional folklore teems with ghostly figures who range from terrifying to petty. One ghost might appear because you didn't offer enough sweets at a ritual. Another because you borrowed his tiffin box and never returned it. Then came the British Empire, and with it, a rather Victorian obsession with seances and graveyards. Colonial cemeteries popped up across the country, in Calcutta, Delhi, and Mumbai. And over time, these mossy, overgrown graveyards became the natural backdrop for modern-day Halloween stories. Expats held costume parties there. Locals told tales of white-faced soldiers wandering among the tombstones at night, eternally confused about why there's curry everywhere. Fast forward to the 21st century, and India's relationship with Halloween is, well, complicated. In the big cities, it's embraced as a quirky theme night, the kind of event where someone might show up dressed as Demonetization 2016, and win first prize. Meanwhile, in smaller towns, elders shake their heads and ask why anyone would celebrate ghosts when they already have enough uninvited guests at weddings. Some Indians see Halloween as a harmless bit of Western fun. Others view it as cultural clutter. But the truth is, it's neither. It's adaptation. The same thing India has done for thousands of years. From colonial architecture to cricket, from English tea to Instagram filters, the country takes what arrives, stirs in some masala, and makes it its own. So yes, you might see Dracula dancing next to a Diwali lamp, or a ghost wearing a sari made entirely of LED lights. And somewhere in Delhi, a bored security guard will sigh, sip his chai, and mutter. Every year these foreigners come back from the dead, but still can't drive properly. Halloween in India may never be traditional, but it will always be entertaining. Because even the spirits know, when in doubt, add curry. Now we cross the South China Sea to the Philippines, where Halloween isn't about fear, but family. Forget haunted houses. Here, people go straight to the source, the cemetery. Known locally as Undas or All Saints' Day, it's a national holiday that blurs the line between mourning and celebration. Every year, millions of Filipinos travel back to their hometowns to visit the graves of their loved ones. Cemeteries come alive, and I mean that in the least spooky way possible. Imagine rows of tombs glowing with candles, the air thick with the scent of flowers and grilled food. Families gather around graves with folding chairs, coolers, and karaoke machines. Kids run between headstones, adults share stories, and somewhere, someone inevitably belts out a power ballad dedicated to a deceased uncle who probably loved it in life. If Western, Halloween is a costume party, Undas is a family reunion with ghosts on the guest list. People clean the graves, light candles, offer food, and sometimes even sleep overnight. It's festive, communal, and deeply comforting. The dead aren't feared. They're honored, visited, remembered. Over time, Western Halloween elements have crept in. Filipino malls host costume contests. Kids go trick-or-treating in gated villages, and horror movies dominate TV schedules. But even then, Undas remains the heart of it all. A national reminder that death isn't the end of connection. It's just the quieter part of the conversation. One visitor described it best. It's like the Day of the Dead in Mexico, but with more karaoke and fried chicken. There's laughter, there's prayer, there's singing, and when the night grows late, the cemeteries glow softly, like entire cities made of memory. If you ever find yourself wandering through a Manila cemetery on November 1st, don't be alarmed by the noise. That's not haunting. That's love that refuses to stay silent. The Philippines never met a celebration it couldn't turn into a full production. And Halloween? It's no exception. After Undas, when the family candles burn low, the cities light up, Manila especially. Halloween here is equal parts sacred and showtime. Malls transform into haunted theme parks. Grocery stores blast spooky remixes of pop songs. Entire neighborhoods compete in elaborate costume parades, where even the toddlers look professionally styled. If the US invented the commercial Halloween, Manila perfected it. Picture an entire shopping mall with fog machines, skeleton dancers, and a beauty pageant for witches, complete with formal wear round. The Manileño approach to Halloween is gloriously over the top. Kids trick-or-treat in skyscrapers, going floor to floor like tiny, polite burglars. Office workers wear costumes to work, but make them fashionable. You might see a lawyer dressed as a zombie, holding court with perfect hair. There's even a growing trend of spooktography, professional Halloween photo shoots, where families dress as ghosts, vampires, or K-pop monsters for matching Instagram grids. The blend of Undas tradition and pop culture playfulness feels effortless, because Filipinos have a special knack for turning grief into gratitude, for making the macabre beautiful. Where else can you find someone cleaning a gravestone at dawn than DJing a Halloween rave by night? And underneath the glitter and laughter lies something deeply touching: the belief that life, death, and celebration are all connected. Not separate boxes, but one continuous dance. In Manila, Halloween isn't just for scares. It's for remembering, rejoicing, and, naturally, rehearsing for next year's costume competition. The Philippines never met a celebration it couldn't turn into a full production. And Halloween? It's no exception. After Undas, when the family candles burn low, the cities light up, Manila especially. Halloween here is equal parts sacred and showtime. Malls transform into haunted theme parks. Grocery stores blast spooky remixes of pop songs. Entire neighborhoods compete in elaborate costume parades, where even the toddlers look professionally styled. If the US invented the commercial Halloween, Manila perfected it. Picture an entire shopping mall with fog machines, skeleton dancers, and a beauty pageant for witches, complete with formal wear round. The Manileño approach to Halloween is gloriously over the top. Kids trick-or-treat in skyscrapers, going floor to floor like tiny, polite burglars. Office workers wear costumes to work, but make them fashionable. You might see a lawyer dressed as a zombie, holding court with perfect hair. There's even a growing trend of spooktography, professional Halloween photo shoots, where families dress as ghosts, vampires, or K-pop monsters for matching Instagram grids. The blend of Undas tradition and pop culture playfulness feels effortless, because Filipinos have a special knack for turning grief into gratitude, for making the macabre beautiful. Where else can you find someone cleaning a gravestone at dawn than DJing a Halloween rave by night? And underneath the glitter and laughter lies something deeply touching: the belief that life, death, and celebration are all connected, not separate boxes, but one continuous dance. In Manila, Halloween isn't just for scares. It's for remembering, rejoicing, and, naturally, rehearsing for next year's costume competition. Now let's glide south, to a tiny island nation where even ghosts follow the rules: Singapore. Singapore doesn't do chaos, it does choreography. So when it adopted Halloween, it made sure everything was perfectly organized, fully sanitized, and of course, compliant with local regulations. The crown jewel of Singapore's Halloween scene is Universal Studios Singapore, home to the famous Halloween Horror Nights. Picture the world's most efficient haunted house. Terrifying, yes, but with emergency exits clearly marked and staff politely reminding you to stay hydrated. Visitors walk through meticulously crafted horror zones filled with fog, flashing lights, and actors who can make you scream without ever breaking character or safety protocol. It's spooky, but also kind of soothing. Even the ghosts seem punctual. If a haunted show says it starts at 8 p.m., you can bet your soul it begins at 8 p.m. Outside the theme parks, Singaporean malls and cafes decorate with adorable skeletons and pumpkin pastries. Kids go trick-or-treating in gated communities where residents have RSVP'd to the candy list weeks in advance. And at every event, there's a sign reminding everyone not to litter. But here's the thing. Behind the orderliness, Singapore's Halloween still manages to feel magical. Because while the rest of the world uses fear to excite, Singapore uses it to delight. It's not about losing control. It's about pretending to, in the safest possible way. So yes, you can face a chainsaw-wielding zombie here, but only if you've paid your admission fee, signed a waiver, and agreed not to touch the decor. And that's what makes it wonderful. In a city known for rules, Halloween becomes a night where everyone can bend them just a little, within reason, of course. Because even ghosts in Singapore know better than to jaywalk. Chapter 19. Malaysia's multicultural monsters. Malaysia is a buffet of belief systems. Malay, Chinese, Indian, indigenous. Each community brings its own spirits, omens, and bedtime stories, all simmering together like a supernatural curry. So when Halloween arrived, nobody asked, "Should we celebrate this?" They asked, "Whose ghost gets top billing?" On any given October night in Kuala Lumpur, you might meet a Pontianak, a pale, floating woman with long hair and a tragic backstory, dancing next to a Chinese jiangshi, a hopping vampire in a silk robe, while somewhere nearby a Tamil Rakshasa compares manicure tips. It's like the United Nations of horror, except everyone's undead and wearing glitter. Malaysia's malls go all in. Shopping centers host spooky sales, schools organize costume parades that end with group prayers, and radio DJs tell ghost stories between traffic updates. In Penang and Johor Bahru, you'll find family-friendly haunted houses, meaning jump scares, yes, but also halal snacks and polite signage. There's a unique warmth to it all. The ghosts aren't menacing. They're part of the crowd. Because in Malaysia, fear and faith coexist peacefully. The Islamic call to prayer might echo while, a few blocks away, a group of teenagers carves pineapples instead of pumpkins. Tropical necessity meets creative compromise. Every culture contributes a little something. Buddhist chants for protection, Hindu blessings for luck, Chinese paper lanterns for ambiance. The result? A Halloween that feels less like rebellion and more like a potluck. Everyone brings their own ghost. By midnight, the city hums with life and laughter. The spirits are satisfied, the living are full of candy, and someone's auntie has already posted the whole thing on Facebook with the caption, "So fun, but next year earlier, please." Now glide eastward to Hong Kong, the city where skyscrapers touch clouds and ghosts, somehow, have corporate sponsors. Hong Kong didn't just adopt Halloween, it franchised it. Each October, the entire metropolis turns into a meticulously branded fright fest. Theme parks compete for the crown. Hong Kong Disneyland rolls out Disney Halloween Time, where villains pose for selfies, pumpkin Mickey lanterns line Main Street, and even Maleficent waits patiently in a queue. Across the harbor, Ocean Park's Halloween Fest promises. Asia's largest haunted event, complete with fog cannons, LED demons, and the occasional businessman answering emails between screams. And of course, there's the food. Because in Hong Kong, no holiday survives without dim sum. Restaurants unveil limited edition treats, steamed buns shaped like ghosts, squid ink dumplings with googly eyes, pumpkin custard tarts that somehow cost more than rent in Kowloon. The city's energy makes it the perfect place for a capitalist haunting. Neon signs buzz, trams rattle by, and high-rise windows flicker like jack-o'-lanterns. Even the financial district joins in. Brokers in vampire capes, accountants with devil horns stapled discreetly to their suits. Yet, amid the commercial spectacle, there's genuine reverence too. Hong Kong still observes the Hungry Ghost Festival, when offerings are left for ancestors and wandering spirits. For 1 month each year, incense smoke mingles with skyscraper haze, a reminder that beneath all the consumer glitter lies a culture that never truly forgets its dead. That duality, profit and prayer, spectacle and sincerity, gives Hong Kong's Halloween its peculiar charm. It's spooky, yes, but also weirdly efficient. Ghosts clock in, scare tourists, clock out, and collect their metaphorical overtime pay in burnt joss paper. By the end of the night, as ferries drift across Victoria Harbour under orange lights, you realize something profound. In Hong Kong, even the afterlife knows the value of good branding. Hong Kong may be haunted, but it's also incorporated. Every ghost here seems to have a business plan. By late September, the city's shop fronts transform into glowing altars of capitalism. Aisles of fake cobwebs, orange LED lights, and masks that cost more than a month's streaming subscription. It's Halloween, with a receipt. Behind the glitter, there's a small army of entrepreneurs who've turned fear into profit. Event planners, makeup artists, prop designers, all finding ways to make horror look aesthetically pleasing. Haunted house companies advertise premium scares, complete with corporate sponsorships and press releases. You can even book a VIP fright experience that includes champagne and a private zombie who whispers compliments instead of screams. Hong Kong's creative industry thrives on reinvention, and Halloween is a designer's dream. Every year demands new costumes, new photo ops, new hashtags. Even banks join in with spooktacular savings promotions, because if the ghosts don't get you, the mortgage rate might. But it's not all irony. Beneath the commercial glitz, there's genuine artistry. Local fashion schools run Halloween-themed design competitions. Filmmakers shoot short horror comedies inspired by Cantonese folklore. Makeup influencers teach tutorials titled "How to Look Undead but Still Employed." And when the celebrations wind down, you can almost hear the city sigh, a collective exhale from ghosts and humans alike. Another Halloween done, another profit made, another reminder that even in a city obsessed with speed, people still crave moments of imagination, even if they come with a price tag. Because in Hong Kong, business is business, and so is boo. Now we drift away from skyscrapers and into something softer, rounder, and surprisingly influential: the humble pumpkin. Once upon a time, it was just a vegetable, a hearty orange symbol of autumn that never dreamed of international fame. But then came Halloween, social media, and Starbucks, and suddenly the pumpkin became the global ambassador of seasonal feelings. And Asia noticed. Across the continent, the pumpkin has become less of a food and more of a lifestyle. In Tokyo, you'll find pumpkin-flavored Kit Kats and lattes so cute, you'll feel emotionally unprepared to drink them. In Bangkok, cafes sculpt pumpkins into delicate flowers. In Seoul, bakeries offer pumpkin cream ghost bread, which sounds terrifying but tastes like happiness. The pumpkin became a passport, a symbol that says, yes, we too celebrate this Western thing, but we'll do it with better lighting and more sugar. And the funny part? Most people don't carve them anymore. Real pumpkins are rare, expensive, or just inconvenient. So Asia invented faux pumpkins, made of foam, paper, or plastic, complete with perfect symmetry. The Instagram algorithm approves. Even farmers got involved. In China, pumpkin crops surged during the 2010s to meet rising decorative demand. Some villages literally built their local economies on the global obsession with spooky orange things. But the real magic of this pumpkin revolution isn't about capitalism. It's about connection. It's proof that a single, silly tradition can travel halfway across the world and still make people smile. From Tokyo's tidy parades to Manila's neon parties, one goofy gourd managed to unite millions in harmless fun. So next time you see a plastic pumpkin glowing in a Bangkok cafe, remember, that little orange light isn't just decoration. It's globalization, nostalgia, and a faint whisper of autumn carried on warm, tropical air. And if it makes you sleepy just thinking about it, good. That's the pumpkin's greatest trick of all. When you think about it, Halloween's journey through Asia is a ghost story in itself, one about ideas that refuse to stay buried. It began as an ancient Celtic ritual, sailed with colonizers, drifted through Hollywood, and now glows in the windows of bubble tea shops. Globalization, it seems, doesn't just spread products, it spreads pumpkins. But the strange beauty of this process lies in how each culture makes Halloween its own. In Japan, it's a parade of politeness. In China, it's about ancestors and apples. In Korea, it's a pop concert with ghosts on backup vocals. In Thailand, it's enlightenment with eyeliner. In the Philippines, it's karaoke for the departed. Each country reshapes the Western skeleton into something that fits its own soul. And isn't that what culture's always done? Take something foreign, stitch it into local fabric, and somehow make it feel inevitable? Of course, not everyone loves this blending. Some worry about westernization, the slow fading of traditional rituals beneath the flood of orange decor. But others see it differently. Not as replacement, but reflection. Because Halloween didn't erase Asia's ghosts. It gave them new costumes, new songs, new reasons to laugh. In the grand marketplace of global culture, Halloween became the great equalizer, a night where everyone, from Tokyo to Jakarta, can play pretend, eat sugar, and flirt with mortality under the forgiving glow of plastic lanterns. And maybe that's why it spread so easily. Because under the jokes, costumes, and capitalism, Halloween isn't really about fear. It's about belonging to each other, to the past, to the endless conversation between the living and the dead. And the world, apparently, was ready for that story. Dawn in Asia. The ghosts are tired. The candy is gone. And somewhere, a deflated inflatable skeleton slumps over a parked motorbike, like a drunk tourist from beyond the veil. The sun creeps over temples, skyscrapers, and cemeteries, painting everything in warm, forgiving light. Plastic pumpkins lose their glow. Incense smoke rises one last time. Street sweepers push away confetti and cobwebs that never frightened anyone. The night of make-believe has ended, and yet, a little bit of it lingers. In the faint orange tint of the morning air, in the shared laughter that echoes down empty streets, in the knowledge that even the most serious cultures have room for silliness. Somewhere in Tokyo, a convenience store clerk replaces Halloween candy with Christmas decorations. In Hanoi, a grandmother tells a child that the ghosts are full and happy now. In Seoul, a cafe owner yawns wipes fake blood off the counter, and smiles at how normal it all feels again. Life resumes. But something inside everyone who took part, whether they carved a pumpkin, lit a candle, or just scrolled through spooky memes, feels just a little more connected. Because Halloween, for all its chaos and glitter, does one remarkable thing. It reminds us that death is only scary if you stop inviting it to dance. So the monsters rest, the mortals nap, the pumpkins retire to storage, and the world once again turns quietly beneath the stars, full of ghosts, stories, and the comforting thought that next year, they'll all come back. And here we are, back where we began, in the quiet after the chaos. You've drifted through a continent of costumes, candles, karaoke, and kind-hearted ghosts. You've met monks in bat wings, vampires in Tokyo traffic, and ancestors throwing the best graveyard parties in the world. And now, as the night folds itself into silence, I want you to imagine this. A soft wind moves through bamboo. Paper lanterns sway gently over narrow streets. Somewhere, a cat knocks over a half-eaten candy apple, a final offering to the spirits before dawn. Halloween in Asia may be different everywhere, but it always leaves behind the same feeling. The warmth that comes from remembering, laughing, and not taking death too seriously. Because maybe the best way to face fear isn't to fight it, but to invite it to tea. So, as you sink deeper into your pillow, remember the polite ghosts of Tokyo bowing goodnight. Remember the motorbike helmets whispering down Hanoi's streets. Remember the families in Manila lighting candles, the pumpkins glowing in Seoul, the monks smiling in Thailand, all of them saying the same thing in their own quiet way. We're still here. We remember you. Sleep well. And before you drift completely off, a gentle reminder from your favorite sleepy storyteller. If you enjoyed this little midnight journey through haunted history, give the video a like. Not for me, but for the algorithmic spirit that feeds on engagement. And subscribe, so next time, when we wander through another ancient oddity, you'll already have your lantern lit. Until then, may your dreams be cozy, your ghosts be friendly, and your Wi-Fi strong enough to summon more bedtime history. Good night, traveler. Sleep tight. And don't let the hungry ghosts bite.